Hello viewers, welcome to Diagnostics. Dio here. Today we have a 2010 Toyota Sienna with a 3.5 liter. In this video I'm going to show you how to remove and replace front struts and rear shock absorbers on this vehicle. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the passenger side so we can remove the passenger side tire and get access to the strut. I'm gonna do both sides. I'm gonna replace the struts on both sides and the shocks in the back. We're also gonna replace the shocks on both sides. I'm gonna show you how to do that on one side, and then I'm gonna do the other side off camera. It's the same process on both sides, okay? So now we're gonna start with the passenger side. Let's go to the passenger side and remove the tire. Now we're gonna undo the strut bolt so we can disconnect the strut from the steering knuckle. Before we do that, I'm going to spray all these bolts that we're gonna remove with some penetrating oil. So now I'm going to disconnect this wire of the wheel speed sensor. I'm gonna undo this bolt over here. This is a 12 millimeter bolt. So just like that, we got the brake hose disconnected from the strut. Now we're gonna disconnect the sway bar link from the strut. Just like that. So the nut is right here. This came out pretty easily, so that's good. Usually these nuts get really stuck on them. Okay, so that's good. So now I'm gonna undo the strut bolts. The strut bolts are 24 millimeter bolts. So I'm gonna undo the first one over here. Here comes the first one. Now I'm gonna undo the second one. So we're gonna remove the second strut bolt. I'm gonna get a hammer and tap the strut away from the steering knuckle. So just like that. As you can see, our strut is disconnected from the steering knuckle. Now, the good thing about this strut is that when I ordered the strut, I was able to get a loaded strut. The strut I got came with a spring, so we don't have to remove this spring and install it on the new strut, okay? So we got a fully loaded strut. Now what we're gonna do is I'm going to lower the vehicle so we can get access to the strut mount. We're gonna remove the strut mount bolt so that the strut can come out, okay? So now I'm gonna lower the vehicle and then I'll bring you guys back up. I got the cowl up and out of the way. So now we're gonna remove these three nuts so we can remove the strut. And these nuts are 14 millimeter nuts. right, I got the second one removed. So now we're gonna remove the last one. I'm going to remove this last nut, and as I'm doing that, I'm also gonna hold the strut down here. So here comes our strut. Okay, so I'm gonna take it to the bench. Here is our new strut assembly. Here is the part number. So I'm gonna get it out of the box. I love getting these struts assembly, okay, because they're just awesome. We don't have to swap the spring over here. Everything looks good. All right, so now we're gonna take this strut to the vehicle so we can install it. As you can see, they both look the same. So we're good to go. So now let's take this to the vehicle. It's gonna go in this way. So I need to make sure that these holes over here line up. So just like that. All right, so we got these nuts snug on. I'm gonna get a torque wrench so we can torque these nuts. The torque spec for these nuts is 55 foot-pound. As you can see, this one is torqued. So now we're gonna torque the second one. So that's torqued. This one is torqued. All right, so as you can see, we torqued all these strut mount nuts to 55 foot-pound, so we're good to go. So now we're gonna reinstall our cowl over here. All right, so we're good over here. I'm gonna do that side off camera. Now I'm gonna lift up the vehicle so we can connect our strut to the steering knuckle. All right, we're gonna reinstall our steering knuckle on the strut. Now I'm gonna torque the bolts for the strut. The bolts for the struts have to be torqued up to 155 foot-pound. So I'm gonna adjust my torque wrench. Okay, so just like that. I'm using my torque wrench here. So right there, the first bolt is torqued up to 155 foot-pound. So now we're gonna torque the second one. So right there, as you can hear the torque wrench click, that means that bolt is torqued up to 155 foot-pound. So that's good. So we got both bolts torqued up to 155 foot-pound. So that's good. So now we're gonna reconnect this little plastic holder for the wheel speed sensor. And then we're gonna torque this sway bar link nut. And this is a 17mm nut. So now we're gonna torque this. As you can see, that's torqued, so that's good. All right, as you can see, we torqued all the bolts that we removed. The strut bolts are torqued down. The sway bar link nut is torqued. This little 12mm bolt for the brake hose bracket over here is also tightened, so we're good to go. Okay, so now we're gonna reinstall the tire. The torque spec for the lug nut is 110 foot-pound. Alright guys, we have replaced the front strut, so we're good with the front. So now let's go to the back so we can remove the rear shock. Before I remove the tire, I want you guys to hear a noise that the owner of the vehicle is complaining about. She said that there is a squeaking noise coming from the back of the vehicle. I'm gonna spin this wheel so you can hear it. I hope this is loud enough. Okay, and she told me that her husband did her back brakes about 3 weeks ago. So I can see through the rim over here that the brake rotor looks new. The pads also look new. Okay, so it sounds like the back plate is touching the rotor, or we could have worn out park brake shoes. So I am going to remove the wheel. We're gonna fix this noise, and then we're gonna remove the shock absorber. All right, we got the tire removed. So now we're gonna remove our brake caliper. I'm gonna insert my flat screwdriver into this inspection hole so I can pry the caliper towards me to retract the piston. And then I'm gonna remove these two caliper bolts. All right, so we got the bolt for the caliper removed. I'm gonna lift the caliper out of the way. I'm gonna sit it over here. I'm gonna remove our pads. I'm gonna put them out of the way. So now we're gonna remove our caliper bracket. We're gonna undo these two bolts over here so we can remove the caliper bracket. So as we remove these two caliper bracket bolts, our caliper bracket is gonna come out. Then we should be able to remove the brake rotor. So here comes the second bolt. Here comes our caliper bracket. I'm gonna get this out of the way. So the caliper bracket is out of the way. So now our brake rotor should come out. Oh, look at that. Wow. So our park brake shoes are completely destroyed. Yeah, this is what I thought was wrong with this. As you can see, the brake rotor is new. Okay, so he must have done something when he replaced these rotors. All right, I believe what happened here is when her husband did her back brakes, I believe when he installed the new rotor, which is this one over here, when he installed this rotor, he probably must have jammed it in place, okay, which got this spring, which caused this spring to come off, okay, and this spring was actually touching the rotor, okay, which was causing the squeaking noise. As you can see, this one is ground over here. Okay, so now I'm going to remove these park brake shoes. We're gonna replace them. I do have a new set of park brake shoes over here. Okay, so let's get this replaced, and then after that we should be good to go. Okay, so we got everything disconnected. We have to make sure that the new shoe looks identical to the old shoe. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm gonna remove, there's a little clip over here that I have to remove. All right, so we got this shoe removed. I'm gonna get it out of the way. Now we're gonna install this new shoe. Okay, so that's good. So now we're gonna do the other one. All right, now we're gonna install this spring that goes over here. All right, so just like that, we got our park brake shoes installed. Now we can install our brake rotor. I'm sure after we install the brake rotor, our squeaking noise is gonna be gone. Now I'm gonna install the brake rotor. So just like that, as you can see, no more squeaking noise. So that's good. So now we're gonna reinstall the caliper bracket and the caliper. So I'm gonna torque these bolts to 95 foot-pound. I hope you can hear the torque wrench click. So that's torqued. So now we're gonna torque the second one. So that's good. All right, so we got both caliper bracket bolts torqued to 95 foot-pound. Now we're gonna install our caliper. Now the torque spec for the caliper bolt is 35 foot-pound. As you can hear, the torque wrench clicked. So this one is torqued up to 35 foot-pound. So now we're going to torque the second one. Alright, so we torqued both caliper bolts up to 35 foot-pound, so we're good. Since we're going to replace the shock, I'm going to undo the shock nut down here, and then we're going to lower the vehicle so we can remove the bolt at the shock tower inside the vehicle. We're gonna put a jack over here so that we can get the weight, the vehicle's weight, off the shock. Okay, so now I'm gonna undo this nut. So we're gonna put a jack over here and jack this up a little bit. All right, so that's good. So now we're gonna open the back here. So here comes our nut. So here is the bushing. Okay. So now let's go outside and remove the shock. So I'm gonna lower the jack so that our shock can come out. So here it is. Okay, so the shock is removed. Okay. So we're good to go. So now I'm gonna install this shock now. Just like that, and then we're gonna jack up our jack. Okay, so now let's go in the vehicle and install the nut. All right, so we got the nut tightened. So now we're gonna install this rubber boot over here. All right, so we're good. Now I'm gonna install this big washer, and then we're gonna install the nut. So now we're gonna torque this nut. The torque spec for this nut is 95 foot-pound. Just like that. As you can hear, the torque wrench clicks. So that's good. This is torqued. So now let's install the tire. I'm gonna leave this right over here. This is how you remove and replace front struts and rear shock absorbers on this Toyota Sienna. I hope you liked the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. Thanks for watching. See you next time.